Right, guys, welcome to the Junkyard Dogs podcast. I'm joined today with Tim Ford, and we're going to have a little chat about some upcoming races. The Pro Series race in Geelong, the first 70.3 of the season, and Ironman South Africa. The start list just come out today. Looks absolutely stacked, so we're going to have a little run through, see who our picks are, talk about who we think are interesting athletes for the race, and who could spice it up. So, how you been, Tim?
Yeah, really good, mate. And you're right, the start lists are out, and it's actually that time of year, I think, where we're starting to see a lot of the start lists. We've just had the T100 Singapore start list confirmed. We've had Geelong, we've had Ironman South Africa, as well as Challenge Roth. Their sort of top athletes have all been announced. And every race, I'm just like, actually, to be honest, most races, I'm getting really excited. Some of them are a little bit underwhelming, but it's going to look gearing up to be a really good year.
Challenge Roth actually looks really stacked. Like every week they keep announcing another big athlete. Like, I'm really surprised that it's actually managed to get that many big hitters. Be good to see how Vincent Louis gets on in his first full distance. Like, are you a bit surprised that he's actually only going to probably do that full distance and not actually do a qualifier for Nice? You know, because potentially if he's really good at the full distance, he's losing one opportunity to vie for a world championship, isn't he, over the full distance? Because obviously he'll have to wait until the qualification opens for Kona next year.
Look, it's definitely fascinating. I think probably Challenge got their checkbook out and probably
Yeah.
wrote a few zeros. But I think the fact that you talk about the fact that Nice is also a home race for Vince, I would have thought gives it a lot more weight. We know that Vince didn't get the opportunity to race the Olympics last year, which was a big goal of his. So yeah, you'd think that then to go and try to do that home Ironman World Championships would be a big deal. Maybe he will. I'm not sure, to be honest. It's
surprising that he didn't go for like South Africa, and still do Roth, because he could have still cashed in on, like, if he got a decent appearance fee in Roth, he could have done South Africa, got it out the way before, or to be honest, really could have done like New Zealand, tried to qualify there, got it out the way. That's his full distance done, and then concentrated on the T100. And obviously with just Roth in the middle, I mean, it would be quite hard to do that. I mean, we've seen quite a few athletes that like try and do 2 or 3 Ironmans and the T100 series, and it doesn't work out that well. So maybe, I don't know, he's just thinking, I'll get a decent appearance fee from Roth, I'll get some decent money from T100, can do a whole season non-drafting races, get a bit stronger on the TT bike, and then next year I'm going to target Kona. I heard on a podcast he said that his ambition was Kona, that was a big goal for him. And I can't remember if he said like his dad did it or something years ago, or something about like how he really wants to win that race, and that's the big goal that he's got left in his career. So I know he's motivated by that.
Yeah, I think I've seen Vince do a lot of choices that Vince has made the last probably 6 months in particular have definitely left me scratching my head a little bit. And obviously I don't have any real insight into what Vincent Louis does, but after missing out on the Olympics, I probably would have expected to see him maybe go and do one of those. There was that 70.3 I can never pronounce it, the one that was part of the Pro Series. I would have maybe expected to see him go there and try to pick up a 70.3 Worlds position, which he didn't. He kind of went relatively quiet post-Olympics. We saw him go to Super Tri, where he was there, but he sort of didn't really feature. He was kind of seemed to me to be a bit more of a domestique kind of for Hayden Wilde. Pulling him around a little bit on the bike and then fading a bit on the run, which showed me that it was, obviously the timing was right for him to start to move up to the longer distances. But he went and did that Bahrain 70.3 where he went really, really well. And, he's done some really good 70.3s in the past. I genuinely would have expected to see him shift the focus to 70.3 Worlds after the Olympic qualification didn't go through, and he didn't. So here we are again, and I'm just sort of going, but to the Roth point as well, I think you actually look at the Roth start list and there's some really great names, but they're not the usual names that you'd expect. Like, there's no Magnus Ditlev this year, there's no Patrick Langer this year, those sort of, real regulars. And I'm actually kind of more excited for that reason, because, you've got the Vincent Louis, you've got Henry Schoeman, who these guys, I'm really keen to see what they'll do with that iron distance on a fast course. So I think that they've been quite clever in navigating what is a very stacked schedule for everybody to still get one of the fields I'm most excited, fascinated by at Roth. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that race unfolds.
Yeah, that is true, and it does actually make it a bit more kind of like you do get a bit more excited about that, knowing that there's going to be a fresh new winner for the race, and you don't really know how it's going to unfold. I mean, when Magnus was there, you knew he was going to try and hang on to the front pack for as long as possible, and then he was going to try and like consolidate a lead on the bike, and then it was almost a bit boring because watching someone 8 minutes ahead on the run isn't really entertaining, is it? You know, whereas this year you're like, would there be a few people come to the run? How good is Vincent Louis over the marathon? We know he's good over the half distance, but a marathon can be a different ball game. And could you get like 3 or 4 people go into the last 10K fairly close together and it'd be a real battle? But on one point, you know, you said about the Super League, like he was there and he wasn't really there. You know what I was watching today? I was on like a 4-hour indoor ride, and I had a video on YouTube come up in my recommended thing, and it was Super League Malta 2019. Vincent Louis and Christian Blumenfeld battle it out. That was what it said, and it was an absolute banger. It was when, you know, when they did that 2-day format as well, where it was a lot better.
The best.
It was the
best.
2-day format. Come down to the second day, you had Gustav Eden, who was like doing really well at the Super League back then. Like, he got onto the last run. I think he was in about 5th place. Hayden Wild hanging on to the lead group, and the run battle was Christian Blumenfeld, Vincent Louis, Martin Van Riel, Hayden Wild. Vincent and Christian's on the front on the bike, absolutely spanking it. Like, Vincent Louis starts the bike with a bit of a buffer. Christian drags them up, like catches Vincent Louis, then attacks him on the climb. He holds on, and they get onto the run. There's like, it comes down to a lead group, them 4 on the run, and then Christian starts off like pretty hard. Vincent hangs on to him, and then Vincent pulls away on the final climb with a sprint finish. Both of them proper gurning, like they're on the flipping limit, and you thought, this was like the best Super League. Like back then, 2018, 2019, pre-COVID, 2-day format on the rivet, like the racing, like, and I was watching that and I was thinking, oh, it was awesome. And you saw Leo Berger as well, interestingly, struggled to make the 90-second time cut, nearly got cut out.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it just shows you, you know, like, obviously now, 6 years later, you see how good some of these guys are, but a lot of people were like, who you wouldn't expect, were like struggling to even, you know, make it through. It's just interesting how times change.
Well, also, I think the interesting thing looking at those older races is how much more exciting the courses were as well. Like, you look at Malta, Mallorca, Jersey. You know, these like, I still think that Mallorca course. Remember, there was that Mallorca race where you had Vincent Louis and Johnny Brownlee had that finish where Vince had it was just as they'd introduced the short shoot. You had to run up and down that little steep hill, and then it was neck and neck. And then Vince had the short shoot, took the shortcut. Man, it was. I think that period of Super League was like. When it was back then, it was like, this is the future. And now it's like, it's just a...
it was just so much better then. The 2-day format was absolutely awesome. And the races were quite brutal because I think it was over 2 days. You know, it was like, you know, it's like a stage race, wasn't it? But every race is like full gas. And like, they used to mix it up sometimes, didn't they? You know, do a bike time trial, however you finished on the bike. Where you started.
First one in Hamilton Island, they did the test event. Where they did they actually did an individual time trial on the airport the day before. Like, stuff like that was really, really great. But I think that it's definitely I think it just seems like a shorter version of World Triathlon now with a few gimmicks compared to actually fresh. You know, I used to always say that I saw Super Tri as kind of like the disruptor to triathlon, and now it's not the case anymore. Like, I enjoy it.
Triathlon, mate. They get their hands onto everything and they turn it to shit.
But I mean, I will still give. I think the Super Tri have got. I think that Toulouse course is exceptional. I think that's actually probably the best course, maybe in triathlon at the moment. I think it's really. I think look, obviously for short course, it's definitely London as well. I mean, I know you've been to the London race. I've been at the London race, and I think comparing the London T100 event that we were at together and then the London Super Tri, you'd go to the London Super Tri and be like, oh, triathlon's exciting. You go to that T100 race and go, wow. So this is triathlon.
No, the T100 race in London is really good. I mean, I wouldn't say the course is that great in terms of like hills or anything like that.
The cobbles are nice.
It's quite good. Yeah, and it does always seem to break up just because the racing's so brutal anyway. Like, it does come down to a small bunch all the time. Anyway, what race do you want to start off with? Yeah, do you want to start off with Geelong or do you want to start off with South Africa?
Let's go with Geelong. Let's go chronologically because Geelong is, I believe, not this weekend, next weekend. So the 23rd of March, off the top of my head, is Geelong 70.3, the first race of the there's too many series, the Ironman Pro Series, and it's in Australia this year. Last year it was in Oceanside, the opener, as they've moved it a little bit further forward this year.
Yeah, I think this course is actually, this field, I'm having a little look further down the list now and seeing some of the names that are in there, and there's definitely some people that I wouldn't have necessarily expected. Like one of them, Kenji Nina, he was doing really good, wasn't he? In some of the short distance races this year or last year, like getting up towards the top 10. He's in Super League. He's quite good. But I didn't realise he was in there because he's like number 25,
Yeah.
seeded right far back. But yeah, he's definitely one that I'm interested in looking at. Also, one guy, number 47, James Whelan. Have you heard of him?
I can't say I have actually.
So he's a
He's true.
former pro cyclist, and I
There's a
came
few of
across
these.
him. Yeah, but no, but this guy is really impressive on the run. Like I first came across him racing him in COVID on like Zwift and stuff, and he was
Hmm.
obviously really good. I think he ended up getting onto Israel Premier Tech cycling team. Might be
I know who
wrong
you're
there.
talking about. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know who you're talking
and
about now.
apparently got put off with all the crashes in cycling. I think he had a couple of bad ones. Didn't want to risk it, so he got into running at the end of the summer, and he's a really, really natural runner. I think he ran when he was younger, and he's already done a sub 30-minute 10K within literally like
Jesus
6 weeks of
Christ.
running. And right, he was in Barcelona a half marathon recently. He had to pull out at 16 Ks because he felt his Achilles and he didn't want to risk it before Geelong. And what pace do you reckon he was on for at 16 Ks into the half marathon?
Well, if he's running a sub 30-minute 10K, you're going to be assuming it's going to be in the like mid to low 60s, I guess. What was he?
He was on for 63 minutes. So basically
That's outrageous.
back to back 30-minute 10Ks. Like he literally went through 10K, I think, in just under 30 in the 10K. But because he's new to running, he's basically running what was his 10K PB in the half marathon. So basically, I think he's probably in like 63-minute half marathon shape, which is insane considering like he's not even been running a year. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you see some of the sessions that he does on Strava. He uploads it all. So if you guys listening, you want to see, give him a follow on there. But I think he's. I don't know how he swims. I think his swimming's not great because you can see some of the times that he says. But obviously, former pro cyclist, really into like the aerodynamics. He's come from a good background, but then to be able to run like that as well. It's not like we're talking someone who only runs like 72, 73 minutes,
Yeah.
fresh in a half marathon. This is like he could potentially run 67, 68 off the bike here. This could be he could really upset a few people in this race, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes.
I think that's definitely an exciting factor, and that's what I really like about this. Is probably one of my favorite things about 70.3 distance and Ironman distance. To be honest, is when you start to see these new athletes, either step up or come in, because there is this certain like I look at a Braden Curry and I'm like, I kind of think I know what Braden Curry is going to do. I look at Yella Gaines, like I can probably work out how Yella Gaines is going to race a little bit. Whereas yeah, so James Whelan's super fascinating, Ken Chinina's super fascinating, but the big name on this start list that I am very excited, very, very, very excited to see races is Matt Hauser. I'm so keen to
Matt
see Matt
Hauser,
Hauser have a crack. Correct.
I missed him on there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that will be really interesting. And because Yella Gaines is racing, obviously coming in at the number one, lives in Australia now, doesn't he? So he's going to be pretty. He's not like he's traveling from Europe to do this race, and it could take a bit out of him. But it'll be really interesting to see how these guys run compared to him, because obviously you're getting a comparison to who was the reigning Ironman world champion or 70.3 world champion in December. He won it on the run. How will these guys compare to him? Like that Matt Hauser, will he outrun Yella Gaines off the bike in a half marathon? Over a 10K, he's really strong. But it seems like when I've seen him in some of the short distance races, like the 5K, seems like he runs better compared to everyone else. The 10K he doesn't do quite so well. How will the extra 11 kilometers? I mean, he's definitely going to be a threat. He's going to rip it on the swim, isn't he? Because he's incredible in the water. So he could potentially drop quite a few of these guys, couldn't he? And there could be a group of just two or three of them get out the swim together.
The other one that is on there, number two, Jake Birtwistle, and I don't have any insight, but I always feel like Jake Birtwistle has this huge potential that we've just sort of not see come to fruition in the last few years as well. There was that period there where he was like number two in ITU before it was switched to World Triathlon. There was that period where he was like the next big thing, and he's just sort of gone MIA a lot recently. He's done some 70.3 races in the last year, but nothing that's made a real impact. Like nothing where you're like, oh wow, look at Jake Birtwistle, look what Jake Birtwistle's done. But I do feel like whatever is maybe I don't know, but if he does get things right, looking at his class or how good he has been at ITU racing, he's one that I think when things click for him could also, he's such a good runner. I think he could also really do some damage, but it just depends on, I'm not sure where he's at. So that'll be interesting as well.
You know, I've actually heard from people like other athletes. I can't remember who it was that told me, but he doesn't like the sport. He doesn't
Yeah,
like triathlon.
I know that.
He
Yeah,
does it because he's good at it. So that's probably why it seems like he's got a lot of potential because he's just naturally really good. And I guess his motivation levels just fluctuate, you know, on different times depending on how he feels really. So if he goes through like a 2 3, I don't know how true this is, but if it is and he goes through a 3 month period where he's actually feeling pretty motivated and he fancies it, then he probably gets to quite good form. But if you don't like doing something, you're just doing it because you're good at it, it's going to be really hard to reach your potential because a lot of people love it, don't they? You know, like
yeah,
some people absolutely love the game, don't they? I mean, I think like
yeah.
Christian Blumenfeld, like, you know, he's obviously not very naturally talented and loves the game, doesn't he? Like,
Loves it.
the game,
Absolutely. But I mean, the other thing, you could be good
he
at it,
didn't
but
choose the
also
game, mate. The game chose him.
Do you remember? I can't remember who did it years ago. Somebody, it actually might have been the triathlon out. I don't know who it was actually, but they'd put an old man filter on that photo of Christian Blumenfeld winning the Olympics, and so they had like the old face Christian going like Christian Blumenfeld, 60 to 65 age group winner in Kona. I thought that is actually the future. Like
That will be him. That will be him.
100% will.
And he'll be smashing himself, won't he? Completely, full, like, absolutely on the rivet the whole day.
And
you
like
know?
getting into the competitors' heads, like he'd be at the start list, or like, are you gonna come with me? You're gonna come with. They're like, you're Christian Blumenfeld, mate. Like,
Mate, when
no.
he's on the 60, he'll be in the 60, 65-year-old age group and he'll be trying 200 grams of carbs now and throwing it all back up again.
He'll never stop. I don't think. I think Christian Blumenfeld will literally race triathlon until his dying day. Like, yeah, he'll be an 85-year-old, 95-year-old man or something, and he'll be in the middle of a race and he'll fall off his bike and it'll be like, Lance Armstrong always talks about the perfect way to go will be go down a massive descent, land in a field of flowers, and pass away. That'll be Christian, except at the finish line of Kona or something. He'll simply be 95 years old, cross Kona, and drift away into the next life. A life well lived.
How do you see this race going? If you had to kind of like play it out in your head with the names here, how do you see this race panning out?
I think that we're going to see some swim power at the front. I think you're right. We've got the Matt Hauser effect, Braden Curry. Sam Osborne's not a bad swimmer. Jet Burtwis was okay. Like, I think that there's going to be Aaron Royal's there, for crying out loud. Like, we haven't even spoken about Aaron Royal. I think there's going to be a pretty strong front pack on the swim. But I kind of think this is.
You tell me who you think's going to go get out of the water, and we'll have a little discussion through each bit and see what we think. So
Matt Hauser first out of the water.
But how many people do you think? Do you think by himself, or do you think there's
No.
going to be people that will swim with him?
I think it's going to. I see there's probably going to be a front pack of maybe 4 or 5 athletes, maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, look, it could be either a front pack or it could be kind of like a spread out single line behind Hauser, as we sort of do tend to see. So I think you're going to have, yeah, as I said, Aaron Royal will be there. Burtwis will maybe. Who did I say before? Hauser, obviously. Giella Gaines could be there or thereabouts. Ken Giannini could be there or thereabouts, just because the demands at 70.3 are so much lower than they are at ITU. And then I think then you're going to probably have a bit of a gap to the next group. I think it's going to be
I think Giella Gaines is going to get dropped in the swim by those guys.
Do you think they're going to try to do that, or is it just natural his ability?
I reckon that Matt Hauser is going to try and do it, like going to just take it out really hard. And from the races that I've seen in the sea, he's so good at swimming in the ocean.
He is.
And I think Aaron Royal is as well. I think this must just be an Australian thing. They all seem to like absolutely nail
surf life saving. That's why they all do surf life saving as
kids and just get the hang of it. But
Nippers,
so I think they're going to drop him on the swim, not by much, with like 30, 40 seconds, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then depending on how big a group he's in on the bike, like I'm having a little look at that, and I don't really know if he's going to be with anyone with firepower on the bike, and also not knowing how strong Matt Hauser is on a TT bike, and Aaron Royal pretty solid on TT bike, but flat course, I think Giella Gaines is going to struggle to bridge up to them unless he's, if they're really on it and they're fairly aero. I mean, I think he would need some help, but like there's a lot of names that I don't know who they are, so they could be quite strong swim bikers and obviously have one weakness, because if they were like really solid all around, you would know them, wouldn't you?
I think the only little addendum I'd say to that is because, look, there's of this start list of however many 47 athletes, there's probably 3 or 4 that could win this race. So I also think the thing on the bike, you're going to have people that are they're going to try to achieve something. So you might have some people that are going to probably bike a little too hard that aren't, they're not going to feature in the overall race, but they want to sort of make a bit of a name for themselves. So I think that look, obviously depending on the gaps, that could work in Yellowgain's favour, where you're going to have these people that are going to try to almost kill themselves a little bit to get towards the front.
How far back will they be able to swim behind Yellowgains? Because I thought there's people that will do that, but will they be another 90 seconds behind him? So the firepower will come, but it won't get to him potentially until 30, 40 Ks into the bike.
Is Kenworth doing this race? Do you know? Is he actually doing this one? Or is he?
Knows? He's on like flipping South Africa. He's on this race. He's probably on Texas. Probably on Oceanside. Like, I don't know.
So I'm just looking, right? And you've got James Whelan, you've got Ben Hill, who you raced in New Zealand a couple of weeks ago. You've got Cam Worth, all former or current pro cyclists. Like, yeah, obviously the gap could be big, but I still think you've also got some people there that are we're not talking about bad cyclists here. You've got Caleb Noble is a guy who's really, really strong. Who else am I looking at? I mean, he's probably the only one. Mitch Kibbe's pretty good as well, but yeah, Jared Osborne as well. Like, these guys aren't bad, and I think they're just going to probably really commit to that chase. And look, whether they're going to get them back up to that group, but I think they're going to probably either catch up and get with Yellowgains a little bit, maybe, or I don't know.
Imagine if James Whelan gets out of the water in a good pack at 3 minutes down, which would probably be really good for him. Has an awesome ride with like 2 or 3 other people. Gets off the bike 90 seconds down. And runs a 67-minute off the bike half marathon, wins the race.
Do you think 60? I mean, what a debut! Do you think a 67-minute race would, especially? Do you think a 67 would win this race though?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Like, 'cause it's not a world champs, is it? It's in March, isn't it? Like Yellowgains had to run a 67 in the world champs. Like, and that was quite a good course because I think the one in New Zealand in Taupo, they missed out the hills, didn't they? So they had kind of like the flat bit along the path. Yeah, they didn't do the hills, so they basically did the bit along the cut along the path, and then they cut in before you got to the undulations. So it was basically pan flat. So it was a good course. It was a faster course.
There's still those rises back up to town though, right? So
the bits, there will be them little rises on the way up to town, which will be which definitely will be a bit. But the thing is, that was when you're like in really good form going for a world championship. After that, he's surely have going to had some time off, isn't he? Like a couple of weeks. Building back up. This will be like a race where you kind of, you're throwing it in because you've done some good training and obviously it's on your doorstep, but you're not going to be in world championship form, are you, after having a break in 8 weeks of training. So I think a 67 could potentially win it. And I think the same with some of these ITU guys that are doing it. No one's going to be absolutely pinging 110% in March, are they? And if you are, then you're not going to be pinging in the summer, are you? You can't.
Another factor with Yella as well, right, is does he automatically get a 70.3 slot for this year's World Champs as the champion, or does he have to ratify?
Oh, I don't know. I think they make everyone do one. Like, you have to probably do one. But also, actually, a 67 could be enough to win it if there's not a big pack and people are sat in saving themselves. If you've got a pack of 12 that ended up coming together and then some people are sat in like 8th, 10th place for the last 15, 20K and not having to push that much power, then you might have to run quicker. But everyone's riding hard, sorry, what was that?
I wouldn't let Jimmy, if I was in a group with Jimmy Whelan though, and I knew that I'd be like, yeah, fucking take him. You go, mate. I'm not towing you to the front. You can do the work. Like,
100%. The thing what I would say about him is though, it's different running a half marathon fresh. And it's different.
100%. I was thinking this when you were saying it, yeah.
And like running it off the bike when you've smashed yourself for 2 hours is completely different. And I think a lot of people get taken back by that when they first get into the sport, because you see the paces that you can run in a 10K or whatever, a half marathon. You're thinking, well, if I could run 3-4 minutes slower than this because that feels quite comfortable. But when it takes a few races, and I think like even people when they step up from like the short distance going to half marathon really struggle to actually run to their potential straight away. And they've been doing the sport for years. So someone coming in from a cycling background who's not had as much run experience in the past, I think potentially could struggle to run to his potential. So he might run like a 112, 113 and then be like, God, I don't understand why I'm running like 8-9 minutes slower than what I would in a normal half marathon.
Personally, I don't really think he's going to feature. Like, I just because for every reason what you said is very much kind of how I see it happen. I think we're going to, it's like, it's very exciting and interesting, but I think come race day, and after the race, we will not really be talking about his performance impacting the race very much.
All right, just pick your top three, and I'll pick my top three.
Do we go in order, or do we just pick three? What do you want to do?
We'll go on then. We'll go in order. You pick your third, I'll pick my third. You pick your second, I'll pick my second, like that.
My third place is Kenji Nina.
I'll go for Jimmy Whelan.
Okay, I liked it that you roll the dice.
I'm going for it, mate.
I'm going to say Jimmy Whelan.
Non-swimmers.
He's your spirit animal.
I'm dreaming big, mate.
Yeah, okay. No, I think you're wrong, but I respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Second place for me is going to be, I'm going to go, it's hard, isn't it? I'm going to go with Yella Gaines for second place.
I'm going to go Matt Hauser.
Yeah, I'm going to go Hauser for the win.
Yeah, I'll go for Yella Gaines for the win. With an Aaron Royal as a surprise, could be a surprise.
Yeah. Aaron Royal, I could easily put in any of those positions. Probably, I'd slot him. I'll put him at fourth. I'm also curious to see how Braden Curry goes, because we know, similar to yourself last year, Braden chased the Pro Series and paid the price.
He's still in it, mate. He's still in the Pro Series this year. Like, he loves it. He loves the hustle.
What about the women's race quickly?
Go on, Braden, mate. I hope he's had a load of them like Ansco steaks that he keeps having. Get his like iron levels
High
up.
protein.
For a year of tough travel, mate. You know that iron's going to be depleted by the end of the season. So make sure you get them steaks in before you start your travelling. He's going to be in Australia this week. Next week he's going to be in America. Then he's going to be over to Europe. Then Australia again. It's like it's literally like he needs Taylor Swift's jet, mate, doesn't he? Like,
I was going to say, he needs Air New Zealand needs to get on board his sponsors. Like, we need more airline sponsors in triathlon. That'd be great.
Can't be doing that. Can't be chasing that game in economy, mate. Like it just flipping.
It does, and I also believe that Braden travels with his wife and kids as well to every race.
Oh, he must have got a good mortgage rate, because he'll be bankrupt himself otherwise.
With the women's race, looking at this, I mean, again, the women's race definitely not as deep, and there does seem to be a lot more of the Australian sort of, I guess, regulars on it. But I guess the big names for me, Hannah Berry, Natalie Van Couveren, I'm really interested to see. Charlotte McShane, another short course athlete who's stepping up to the 70.3 distance. Jodie Stimpson, also another one. Jodie is an athlete that I feel like is kind of similar to Jake Birtwistle for a myriad of different reasons, is yet to reach that potential. Like, I've always expected to see Jodie Stimpson do really, really well at middle distance. And she's, again, similar, like I said, similar to Jake, just kind of gone MIA a little bit. And again, obviously I am aware that she's had some challenges she's been facing, but she's been based in Australia for what feels like 6 months at this point.
What, Jodie Stimpson has been based in Australia, has she, for a long period of time?
Yeah, for ages. She's been in Canberra.
Really? Oh, right. Has she moved over there then?
I'm not sure. I don't know, but like I actually was asking.
I'd love to move over to Australia. You're lucky, Jodie. You managed to escape.
She's in Canberra though, mate. Looking on her Strava, it seems like she's based in Canberra, which is probably the one place in Australia you wouldn't want to relocate to.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not near the sea or anything, is it?
No, it's landlocked, man-made lake. The whole thing. It's just it's all right, but yeah. Anyway, women's race. What do you anyone you're particularly interested to see how it goes? Hannah Berry, for example.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes for Hannah Berry, because obviously she was in Taupo quite a lot when I was training there, and I know she took the T100 contract. And previous to that, she'd been like quite a strong Ironman athlete, but she's really been training hard for the T100s. Like, not like some of these people, they take the contract, get the money, but then don't actually put the graft in, and train specially for it. It's like they're doing it for the sake of it. But she said she's really going for it, and she wants to, give it her all and actually try and perform well. So I think if she's, because she's been doing that, I think she's going to nail it. When I was doing actually in Taupo, I was doing like a run session. And this was like a week before the race, and she was there doing a run session, completely random. My mum and dad were like on the path, like they were waiting for me to finish. I was doing like 10K, and just as I came back up, so I was like about 2K, about 1,500 meters away from where my parents were, which is where I was finishing. And I saw Hannah Berry running like towards me the opposite way. She just happened to be out doing a run. I didn't recognise her until the last bit. She was wearing a blue t-shirt, and she kind of put her hand up, like to say hi. I said hi, and I got to the end, and my mum goes, "Did you see that woman with the blue t-shirt? She must be a pro. She was running ever so fast."
After the race in New Zealand, when we remember at the pub, there was Hannah was there, Billy Fenella, Mike. We were sitting at that pub,
Yeah.
And I think I was talking with Billy and Finella, and we were talking about the T100 series, and I was kind of like soapboxing, saying, there's no point women racing it this year unless you're Taylor Nib. No one's going to... So I'm having this... And then I looked, I went, sorry. I just realised that she's sitting there. And I've just been talking about how there's basically no point for any other woman to show up this season. I went, yeah, sorry, Hannah. I obviously expect you to do really well too.
The thing is, though, what I would say about that is that's how it looks. But in the past, there's been so many dominant people for 1 year. Like, if you look at, like, Gustav, 2021, 2022, it might have been, in T100 or PTO races. Back then, you would have thought that he was going to be dominant for 4 or 5 years, winning every single one, and you would have said that to other blokes, wouldn't you? There's no point. Like he's going to clear up. Vincent Louis, 2020. If the Olympics had been in 2020, he was clearing up every single short distance race. But to do it year on year, there's very few people. The only people that I can really think in the women's side who's done it year on year was Daniela Reeve, and in the men's side, I wouldn't even potentially say Jan Frodeno, because he only used to race 2-3 times
And got
a year.
injured a lot.
Got injured a lot. Whereas, like, to do what Taylor did, where you potentially race like 6-7 times a year and smash it, very few people have managed to do that. And when I say Daniela did it, she did it, but the fields weren't as strong then, apart from a world championship. So she only really had to be in top form for 2 races. The other races were kind of like, they had okay strong fields, but they weren't like a T100 where you'd get all the hitters every week.
It's true.
Same with like Ashley Gentle. Back in like 2022, she was winning like every single one of them. But then to do it,
Taylor
like,
Nib came along.
then Taylor Nib did. But that's the thing, like Taylor Nib came along last year, but will she come along this year? You know what I mean? Like when, like a high tide rises all boats, mate. Like, when someone's dominating like that, it brings the level of everyone else up. And to do it year on year, you might have a year or 2 years where you're dominant, but it doesn't carry on. Like, and how many times has it gone to an Olympics and you thought that person's certain to win, and they very rarely do win?
I got it right last year, so.
You what?
I got it right with both the men's and women's last year, so.
Yeah, but like how? But they weren't necessarily the pure favourites, were they? Like Cassandra.
Alex was definitely.
But he only just didn't he? It only just.
Yeah, and I know. You make a valid point, and I
think a dominant performance, was it? It was literally like so close. You could have gone either way, couldn't it? That
Hayden lost it more than Alex won a little bit, I think, in that race, to be honest. But I think, to your point, there's certainly going to be this reaction to Taylor Nib, and similar to what we've been talking about. I know we're jumping all over the place. There's that influx now of the more short course, like Jess Limont, with enough time to prepare, is an athlete that I think could threaten Taylor Nib. Kate Woff, I'm not quite sure. I think that Kate's weakness is probably the run a little bit, but we forget how good she was when she got that second place at the grand final. It's obviously a new distance for her, but the one, and again, I don't know this. This is with a grain of salt. We know that there are some open T100 contracts. Emma Pallant-Brown has come out saying that she's pregnant. Georgia Taylor-Brown, I think, is an athlete we could see get a T100 contract this season. And I think Georgia Taylor-Brown is an athlete who could actually really take it to Taylor Nib. And the other athlete that I'd love to see, I'd love this more than anything, T100, if you're listening, give Maya Kingma a contract to the T100, because to me, she is the athlete that could really do what Taylor Nib does. They both front pack swimmers. They're both exceptionally strong cyclists. And, Maya Kingma's run a faster 10K than Gwen Jorgensen. So, yeah, that's the athlete I'd like to see take it to Taylor Nib.
What did she do for a 10K?
33 something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like, this was start of last year or the end of the year before. She did a flat 10K and beat Gwen Jorgensen's record. So,
Should we drop a name?
Mate, I'm not going to even enter that conversation. She'd be done. And
the biking though, I think with the females, a lot of them are really sloppy on the aero side. Like the men, I think they're so dialed now, like everyone's doing it. And I kind of feel like with a lot of these women, when I see their positions and some of the equipment they're using, it's like they're throwing away so much that like they can't afford to do that. Because I mean, obviously Taylor Nib was like top 3 in the women's TT for American. She's like a top national standard cyclist basically that can swim and run very well. So to beat her, you need to keep her in contention on the bikes. They need to be doing everything they can to maximise their aerodynamics, don't they? Equipment needs to be absolutely on point, position needs to be on point. And like some of these women could potentially get really low CDAs because they're so small anyway.
Correct.
you know, like actually going to the tunnel or on the velodrome, dialing it in could lead to some huge gains, and that could make a big difference in the grand scheme for some of these races.
Well, I think as well, I think it's definitely becoming an area of focus. We saw Kate Wolf was on the track a couple of weeks ago. And again, I don't know, but Maya and Georgia also have done that training camp with the EF cycling team. So they're probably also chatting with those girls about sort of things work. And Vince, who's Georgia's partner, has just spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel in the UK. He's obviously, probably having those same conversations with Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, Maya is like, I've known Maya really well, and that's not why I say what I say, but she's also such a highly intelligent, analytical person that I would, she was the first, one of the first pros I sort of like bring in the angles on her, hoods on her road bike and stuff. Like she's definitely an athlete. I think that would, if it came to it, I think she'd be right onto it, because that's how Maya operates. But you're right. I mean, I think, there's definitely the potential. It's just a case of, and again, look, no disrespect. I saw the women's T100 wildcards for Singapore, and I was very underwhelmed by it.
Who were they?
I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. Like
really?
there was Amelia Watkinson was probably the most interesting of them, but the rest were just, I wasn't really that. They announced like Tyler Mislichuk for the men's. I'm like, fuck yeah, makes really exciting. Tyler's so good in the heat. That new wave, and then the women's was like, okay, I just feel like Georgia Taylor Brown was a missed opportunity.
We've got Janet from Swansea.
Yeah, well, maybe not quite that, but I did feel like it was probably a slightly missed opportunity for the season opener, just in terms of the wild cards. But I think.
Right, Sheila, are you ready for the heat in Singapore?
Talk to Cyril from Purpose. Come on, mate. Get one of your pros out there. We'll get it local.
You won't need your coat, Sheila. It's 40 degrees.
I'm surprised you didn't put your hand up for a wild card, mate. We know how much you like the heat.
Oh,
so.
Mate, that's too hot for me. It's not like it's too warm. It's too warm for me.
I did the age group race in 2023, and I really like racing in the heat. But I'd gone straight from an Australian winter over there like 2 days before the race. Water was warm, but it was fine. Bike was hot, but fine. And I got off the run, and I was running. I think the first lap I was like 3:55 pace, which for me is flying. And it felt easy. And I'm like, I am on today. Like, how good. It's one of those days. Like, everything's just going well. And then the heat hit me so hard. And I've never gone from feeling like I could, absolutely destroy this race to I may not finish this. And literally just, one of my best mates in the world was there near the finish line. And he saw me, and I looked miserable. He's like, "We having fun, Timmy? We having fun, mate?" I'm like, "I'm not having fun. This is terrible." So yes, it's extremely hot. And for the pros as well, they race like 2:00 in the afternoon. So at the hottest part of the day, it's brutal.
I love watching it though because of that, because you get the blow up. That's the whole good thing about that race, isn't it? Like, but I think Tyler's going to be a threat for that, because he is great in the heat. So that will be exciting.
We were very excited to get him on that start list. So yeah, I think it's going to be good. Look, let's turn our attention to Ironman South Africa now, because
who we didn't pick the top three for Geelong. Just quickly, the top three
women. I'm going to go. Jodie Simpson, Natalie Van Couverden, Hannah Berry. I don't know what order though.
I'm going to go Penny Slater.
Oh, good pick actually.
Jodie Simpson, and then Hannah Berry for the win.
I think Regan could do well, but it's a bit close to Ironman New Zealand. Teresa Adam, that's interesting. Another short course athlete stepping up in distance. There's a few.
Teresa Adam's been doing it for ages.
Has she?
Yeah, she's won Ironman New Zealand and everything, but she is she's a really strong swim biker, isn't she? She's actually won New Zealand time trial champion.
Sorry, I'm getting Teresa Adams with sorry, I was thinking of why they're not. I was thinking of Nicole Vanderkay, so that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, no, you're right. Teresa has been doing it for ages.
Yeah, mate. She's she's an old man, mate. Like.
Yeah. No. Let's look at South Africa quickly.
All right. So,
what a start list! This is the men's field is incredible. Like Rasmus Svensson, who won it last year, Magnus Ditlev, Martin Van Riel, Leon Chevalier, Bradley Weiss, Matt Hansen, Cam Worth, Mike Phillips, who just beat you in New Zealand, broke the course record, Jamie Riddle, Matt Burton. What else did we say? Jonas Schomburg, mate, Andy Horsfall-Turner.
Dennis Chavot runs
Is he on there?
really well. Yeah, I saw him. I can see on there. He's number 31. Very quick run. I know he's won Frankfurt European champs.
Yeah,
run like 2:35 or something for the marathon, something like that.
Bit young.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. God, who else is on there? I think you've basically named all the big hitters, haven't you, on that one?
It's
I actually think the field.
Cody Beals, Chuck
I actually
Cody.
feel
Florian
like
Angert's back on a start list too, which is good.
the field in Geelong is stronger than this one.
Do you?
Honestly, I think Geelong would be harder to win. Like looking at the field.
Really? Wow, that's interesting. I'm fascinated by that because I think that there's. Look, I think it's probably. Yeah, I don't know. Explain. Tell me why.
I don't know. I just think there are some like really like big names that are really top 70.3 athletes that are in Geelong, and I think it's going to come down to a really fast run.
Magnus Ditlev and bloody Leon Chevalier here, mate. They were like 2 and 3 or 2 and 4 in Kona. You know, they're not. They're not mucking around.
You're number one at 70.3 worlds in Geelong.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. It's also
Like,
early, right? It's similar to New Zealand. This is going to be the first big.
I mean, potentially, it just depends on like how I think Matt Hauser and all those guys like actually respond to a 70.3. But if they race as well at 70.3 distance as what they are at like the short distance, you know, potentially you could need to do a 66-minute half marathon to beat them.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, which is like, whereas in this, I can see a 2:35 marathon. Like, you know, a lot of the people, like you said, like Ditlev and Leon Chevalier, really good in Kona and stuff like that. But potentially I could see a 2:38 marathon winning this race.
It's a different course too, right? It's quite a strongman course.
This one, yeah, it's not as it won't be as hot. The bike course is a bit bumpy, but I think like it's going to break up on the bike a lot, and I think it's going to come down. Like you say, it isn't going to be. I think it's going to be 1s and 2s coming in off the bike probably, and I think a 2:36, 2:37 marathon will be enough to win it on the day. I think Martin Van Riel is going to be extremely hard to beat on this. I think Magnus, if he wants to win it, has to drop Martin Van Riel. I think if it comes down to a run battle, I can't see him outrunning Martin Van Riel. I think Martin just stay with him, put it in, put a dig in the last 10k, and it's all his. I think Ditlev needs 5 minutes starting the run.
Oh shit, that'd be a. Do you think he can get 5 minutes over MVR?
I don't know. Like that's what I think he needs. I don't
agree. I think you're right. I definitely think that's what he needs. I don't know if he can get it.
I think if
I don't think
Martin
he's going to be able to get it.
90 seconds into him on the swim, if he can drop him and put 60 to 90 seconds, then that means the first 20, 30k of the bike, Ditlev's got to catch back up. Then they're going to try and stay with him for a bit. So then in the last, say, 70, 80k, he's got to try and put 5 minutes into him. I think if he gets 2 to 3 minutes, I think he's going to be working really hard for that, and he's going to struggle to run much under 2:40. I think Leon is obviously going to be coming quite a bit further back, which if Magnus does catch, like Magnus is probably going to swim better than Leon, isn't he? Like looking at historic results, Magnus will be trying to stay on the back of that lead pack. That will be his goal. Martin will be trying to push it and drop him.
You know why he won't though? There's one reason why Magnus Ditlev. I'll make a call now. I don't think Magnus Ditlev will be on the back of that front group. It's because of Jamie Riddle. I think Jamie Riddle is going to absolutely rip this swim to shreds.
Yeah.
And he's going to ride the first half of this bike like an absolute demon, and then I think he's probably going to start to fade. But I think that single athlete, just the Jamie Riddle effect.
That's what you need to do, because you need to put someone like Magnus on the back foot. If you take the swim easy and let him get there in the front, then straight away he's got 180k to start building the lead on you. Whereas Jamie and Martin actually do need to take the swim out, I think, really flipping hard, try and get a smaller group, and then they can work together, share the effort, and then Magnus ends up having to put in so much. It takes him so long to ride up to him, potentially 40, 50k, something like that. Then it just neutralises the amount of time he's got to then start building a gap on you. And then obviously if Leon catches, say Magnus then does pull away and then Leon catches them a bit later, Leon could potentially catch them at 120, 130k, which will then help those guys, because then they can stay with Leon, or they've got an extra firepower, helping keep the gap down before the run as well.
The other one that's worth talking about, I think, is Matt Burton, because...
Oh, Matt Burton, yeah. Absolute threat. I think the best thing for Leon would be if he can get out the water with Matt Burton and those two, and with Rasmus Svenningsson, potentially.
And Mike Phillips, those guys as well. Like, there's a shit ton of bike power in this race.
Yeah, there's a lot of bike power in this race. It looks like with how it's going to turn, the bike is going to be extremely fast. It's going to be very hard. And I think... that's why I think actually it could really play off into Martin Van Riel and potentially that Jamie Riddle, because if they can actually get a good swim and then not having to ride, is he really going to fade that much towards the end of the bike?
Jamie's really young. It's his first Ironman, and he's every race he's done, the run has always been his sort. Until he did that, came second at Ironman Western Australia 70.3 last year, and he I think it was Gregory Barnaby who ended up beating him. I see a huge future for Jamie. I just don't think his run's there to truly compete at this stage of his career. I think he's going to definitely come to it, but I think he's going to fade super hard.
What will hinder Martin a bit then could be the fact that he doesn't really have anyone that can help contribute to keep the gap up. So he might end up having to ride a lot of it by himself, and that could actually impact his run. Whereas people like Leon, who are normally by themselves, a good benefit for Leon could be if he ends up, say, swimming with Mike Phillips, Matt Burt and Rasmus Svenningsson, instead of Leon actually having to like flip in, smash himself for 180k the whole time trying to catch up with people, potentially he could have 3 other allies that are all as good or faster on the bike as him, and they can all share the effort, and then he could get up to the front, save his legs a bit more, so he actually runs on fresher legs, but also actually starts the run towards the front. It's going to be very exciting. And then, I mean, also I think Matt Hansen's going to potentially struggle a bit, like with the firepower on that bike. I mean, for Matt, it all comes down to the bike. He needs to be to get a really good result within 10 minutes and have a very good run, like a 2:34, 2:35 marathon in him.
Which you could definitely do. The other one as well. The other person who could help. Martin is Jonas Schomburg too. Again, super unknown, but we know that in his short course racing, he does go to the front and push it. But I think that if Martin Van Riel gets if Martin Van Riel gets off the bike within a minute of anybody, in fact, probably a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I think he's probably going to win this thing. I think you've sort of summed it up. I can't see Magnus getting a big enough gap off the bike, because I think that even if Magnus gets ahead, I think that bike power is going to assist Martin, even if Martin doesn't stay away. So
I would say though, I don't think Martin would win it against anyone if he's if he's 3 minutes behind. I think there's a lot of people. If Martin actually gets off the bike 3 minutes behind, that could beat him.
Interesting. I respectfully disagree.
I mean,
he know much better than me, so I've never run an Ironman.
I know he got banged up in Cozumel, but I think there's a lot of people in there that could run 2:38, and to say that someone could definitely run under 2:35 is very, very rare, because not many people have actually run under 2:35 on a legit course, and if they've had to bike hard. So I definitely wouldn't say he could run 3 minutes.
I also wonder, again,
that course in New Zealand was a tough run course, and Mike ran 2:40. If Mike ran 2:38 here, could Martin have run under 2:35? I don't know, maybe, but if you
does he want to?
Well, if you've had to push the bike, if you want to win, don't you?
But he's doing T100. But he's doing T100 the weekend after.
You're all in for the win. You're all fucking in for the win. 100%. No one's going to that race thinking I'm happy with second or third. You're literally.
I mean, obviously, but
the last 10k, if someone's if you can't catch someone, you're not. But if you think there's a chance of catching them, I think you're going to the well to win that race. I'm
looking forward to this race. I think this race is going to be fantastic. Genuinely, I'm so pumped for this. This is what I mean. I'm much more excited for this than I am for anything else that's been announced yet. So
I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to this race, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. And I think if it's an extremely hard bike, which is looking like it could be, then it could be very entertaining. I can't see it being a one-horse show. I can see it coming down
definitely
to
not
a few people on the run, and potentially. I can't really see Martin getting dropped by anyone much other than Magnus, really. If a group catches him from behind, I can see him staying with them. It would just be dependent on how much does that bike take out of Martin to stay with them, how much of a buffer, how much further ahead is Ditlev. Ditlev needs to drop them, doesn't he? I think if Ditlev gets off with quite a few people, they could outrun him. I think he kind of needs to have a buffer on people. So the swim is quite crucial for him, isn't it, really? Because he doesn't want to be wasting time catching up. So on that note, top 3, who are you going for?
Third place, Leon Chevalier. Who's your third?
I'm going to go for Mike Phillips because he beat me and I'd like to see him do well.
I'd like to see him do well too. Yeah, no, I think that this is actually really hard to pick. And that was just sort of me going with gut. Second place, I'm going to go... I mean, it's Magnus Ditlev, I think, for second place for me.
Yeah, I think I'd go for Magnus for second because I can see him getting off the bike with a good gap and only one person running him, and I think we're both going to go for the same person for the win. Like it's going to be Martin in it. Like, I mean, he is the favourite, really, isn't he? Like.
Yeah. But interestingly, like he's only done the one Ironman, right? And he had that crash, so he's
untapped potential, and he did run well, didn't he, off the bike, even with that crash.
He's a good runner. He's just you just look at him. He's biomechanically very sound. So
yeah. God, the women's field's
I'm going to get going soon, mate. So we should probably go through the women's race quickly and then wrap it up.
Yeah, look at that. Only 22 women in it. Like, where are they all for the start of the Pro Series? That just shows the women aren't that keen for the Pro Series, are they?
I mean,
because that's
it's also, I think if you look at the sort of, I don't know. Texas will be interesting because you got that Oceanside, Texas. I think the travel probably makes a lot more sense for people. So
for Europe, this is easier to get to. Same time zone as Europe. And
if you're trying to do the first 70.3 and the Ironman at the same time, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. But still, like this one, I mean, like it's not even 50% full. The men's, like they cap it at 50. It looks like they're capping them at 50 now because Geelong and South Africa were both full. So they've obviously capped the fields at 50. But this one's not. It's 40% full at capacity.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like I thought it would be stronger. All right, so we haven't got too much time because Tim's got to head off. So we'll quickly go through this one then and pick. Should we just say who you think the top names are in the race and then pick our top three?
Els Visser, Anne Reichman, Maya Stage Nielsen, obviously really good. Marta Sanchez has done some really great results. Ruth Astle, good to see Ruth coming back from, again, sort of those ups and downs we've spoken about earlier. Svenja Thos, interested to see her. And then the rest, I don't really know too much about, if I'm honest.
I know who I'm going to go for.
Els Visser.
Els Visser for the win. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I go Els Visser number one, Maya second, and Anne Reichman third. That's my. No, I'm going to put Ruth in. I'm going to put Ruth in third, actually.
Yeah, I would like to see Ruth get a top three. I hope she does. It'd be good to see her get back there. She's won the race before in the past as well, so knows the course. All right, so that'll be our top three. This actually went on a bit longer than what we were expecting, I think, didn't it?
And I got to go do my podcast now. So.
Cheers
thank you for having me, Joe.
No, good to have you on, mate, and to chat about the racing. And I think if we had a bit more time, we could easily spend more time. I'm on limited time as well because I actually put Arabella in front. She's been watching Paw Patrol, so I'm surprised she's lasted so long. So I better see her.
And the dogs were quiet.
The dogs were. But do you know why the dog was noisy the other day when you were recording? You'll laugh at this story, right?
Why that?
So Ted was kicking off, wasn't he, my dog? So for people that don't know, my dog was kicking off. I was recording a podcast with him, and he kept going mad. I kept telling him off, like saying, be quiet, be quiet. And what I didn't realise was when I came in from my car about an hour and a half before, I shut the garage and I was doing something in the garden and I saw my dog go in the house. But what I didn't realise was she came back out the house. And when I shut the garage, she ran out the garage. So she'd been out the house for an hour and a half and she was barking out the back and then she was going around the front, right? And Ted was like seeing her outside the front.
Let her in.
Yes, he was barking to sound the alarm because she was there. And I didn't realise. And apparently neighbours were ringing the doorbell. I didn't even hear the doorbell go. You didn't as well, did you? And
No.
They got hold of Laura's number in the end because she was at work and said, your dog's outside the front door. So Laura had to tell them the code because I wasn't answering because I didn't realise. And what I did see was when I went to tell Ted one time, I saw that there was a guy outside my path and with a dog. And I thought, oh, he's standing there. That's why Ted's barking because he can see another dog. So I shut the door. Yeah, well, I didn't realise he was there with his dog and Maisie as well. And then he saw me shut the door and was like, oh, just shut the curtain on me. I've got his dog here. So I left a flipping dog outside.
Listeners wouldn't have heard that because we did a deep dive into your training peaks data from Ironman New Zealand and we actually edited out the gaps, I think. So people wouldn't have even known that happened. But a good plug, Joe, is if people want to hear that episode and get the data because we literally run through your training peaks file. Where do they should head to patreon.com/the JYD, right?
Yeah, head over there, guys. That was a really in-depth data analysis. So it was I was talking about specific attacks that happened on the bike, what happened at certain times, like when I was sitting in the group, and showing what power I was putting on, sitting in the pace line, what I did when I pushed the pace on the hills, what pace I ran at when I had to push to drop Jack Moody in the last K of the run to get second place. But it was really in-depth. It's a 30-minute video just with Training Peaks open, looking at all the data, heart rate analysis, and everything. So head over there, guys. We're putting new content out every week. So some bonus podcasts will go on there. Training sessions, like we've recorded a training session from yesterday, which you can download onto your Training Peaks and do it as well. So yeah, head over there and check it out, guys.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Joe. Talk to you later.
Cheers. See you later, mate. Bye.
Bye.